Lemon Amiga presents a Playguide video review. Sit back and enjoy the show.
Hello there once again, welcome to another Lemon Amiga play guide and review. This time we're checking out Sherman M4. This was published by the French company Loriciel in 1989. Checking out the demo mode, you can see the Panzer tank, the Jagdpanzer, Stunger Schultz and the Tiger tank. All those are heavy German tanks. And what do we have? We have a medium Sherman tank, and this is a 3D shooter, and this is the cockpit. You can see various aspects. You can see 3 campaigns: Normandy, Ardennes and Africa. And so for the first one, Sherman M4, you can see it was produced, well, it was created in 1940, but it actually came on to service in about 1942. So view the enemy, view the Sherman, or select campaign. Let's just select the Normandy campaign for this. Level of realism, you can have things on or off, and you can cheat in this game and have unlimited ammunition. And you can turn the rivers on deep so that you can't get through them. Enemies identified, I'm just going to put that on yes, because otherwise the fog of war is a bit more difficult in the campaign. I want to have some fun with it. And you can select the full campaign or a mission within it. So I'm going to select the full Normandy campaign, and I want to play as the Allied forces. Number of Shermans, let's have 4 tanks and 2 recon vehicles. And the enemy parameters, let's just leave those. Troop morale, well, let's just leave those on mini for the moment. And you can see the general Rommel. We could face Rommel if we really want to do that, or Gunderian, whatever that is. That's probably the easiest general to face in the game. Destroy the bunkers and capture the camp. So this is us now playing Sherman M4 on the Amiga. You can see we can move left and right with the controller, and you can see where are we now? Well, we're on the beach at the moment. You can see the beachhead down there in Normandy, and it would be nice to see some boats on the horizon or some kind of a bridgehead. But you can see there that we have arrived, and you can see that we've created a camp. It's got our flag, the American one. We've got building there which repairs our tanks, and you can see that we've got 4 tanks available, including the one that we're driving at the moment. And by pressing the keys, I think it's 1 to 4, we can toggle through all of our tanks and use those individually. So for now, let's just check out our environment. We can see a road, and by pressing one of the F keys we can bring up a map. It's F4 to bring up a map in this game. So you can see we start off at the base, and below us are lots of enemy bunkers. We'll have to destroy them one by one if we want to get near that enemy. We can also press the F1 key, and that turns us into the external view. And we can also press F2 to zoom and use our binoculars. You can see, zooming in, we can see a bunker there on the horizon. That's a bit too far for us to travel with our missiles. So if we switch to the external view, you can see we can even raise and lower the barrel, and that will mean that the missiles travel a different distance. So most people try to raise the barrel up mostly to the top and try to strike the enemy as soon as it appears on the screen, and that should mean it's no more. Fortunately, it doesn't disappear off the map or change different colour or anything like that. We'll just have to remember that we've blown up that bunker so that it's now harmless. Using the internal view, that can be problematic, as we are about to see. Let's have a look, and no, it looks like that bunker is still there, and we haven't, unfortunately, blown it up. We can also abort the mission at any point as well, and I'm simply pressing the wrong key at the moment. So let's return to the external view. Let's try that again. So that when we land on target, the enemy bunker will change to a different shade of grey, and that means it's destroyed, and we'll have to wait before we can fire another shot. In the meantime, the enemy can be firing directly towards us as well. And if the enemy shots hit on target, unfortunately we're going to lose one of our periscopes. At the moment you can see we're being attacked, it looks like, by an enemy tank. We can take damage in this game. It's a good idea to keep checking our damage, because if we get too much, unfortunately that's the entire tank taken out of the game. You can see we've been hit now, so a good idea would be to pull all the way back and use a different tank on this particular one before it gets destroyed. And now you can see 2 there on the dashboard. That means we're driving the second tank. The first one's now been blown up, so you'll just have to be aware of that for the rest of the game. And this game moves in real time, of course, and sometimes tackling the enemy head on is not a good thing to do, but in this case it looks like we've got away with it. It looks like we've blown it up. Tiger's dead. Good. So damage report. So on this one we haven't got too much to worry about. Everything's still in tip-top condition. The old one, unfortunately, is now dead, destroyed, and we can't do anything with that. We can't pull it back to the base or anything to repair that. We'll just have to take it back to the base before it gets destroyed. So this game relies on a number of keys, and definitely you'll have to rely on the F1 key to go to external view every time you're using the gun. Of course you can use it internally, but that will destroy a periscope. That basically means our forward view will shatter and we can't see out of it. So if we are using the external view, hopefully we can always see out of it, and that means we can use our tank. You can see we can scroll around the landscape. The objectives, well, the enemy tanks are moving around, they're in yellow, and the enemy base you can see directly to the south. So anywhere where there's flags, it's a mini base, and anywhere where there is a kind of striped red and yellow object, that's the resupply point. So we need to get to that during this mission. You can see by clicking on the map we can even remotely direct our tanks precisely where we want them to go, and they will use artificial intelligence to guard the area once they get there, and they'll actually go chasing after the enemy as well if you don't watch out. So you can see we've knocked out that bunker, and so we can move now forward through the forest, and we can try to sneak ahead. And definitely in this game it's a case of long range tactics. So you can look at the map to see where you are, and you can even guide them around a bit like cannon fodder. And I think you can even guide them to the same spot so they'll follow each other like a line of ducks. At the moment you can see I'm being attacked, and there's something flashing on the dashboard. That just basically means we'll have to wait to attack something while we are reloading the gun. Let's follow the normal formula, and let's try to aim for that on a diagonal and get somewhere near it, and then pull back out of range. It's a bit difficult, and sometimes it's like hoovering things up. There you go. You have to move backwards and forwards through that landscape, avoiding the trees, and you can't destroy the trees, I don't think, in this game. So that's another bunker knocked out. So we can make up our own objectives. We can either go all the way to the right and knock out that one, or we can go south. And so, well, there's a church actually just on that junction to the south. Let's move forwards to that area, because I know there's a hidden gun hidden in that church. It's a tiger or something like that, and that's an ambush, so we'll have to watch out for that if we want to take that junction. And you can see it's guarded by a number of tanks, and you can see at the bottom, goal reached, whenever they reach their goal, and then you can either take them on manually, or if they can't see any enemy, they'll just sit there and wait for some more commands, waiting for orders. So you can see we've got a minefield, and definitely that reminds me of Desert Fox on the Commodore 64. So we're going to have to watch out going through that minefield. You can see a building reminding me of Hunter as well. And enemy tanks, if you get them and knock them out before they've turned towards us, that's a great idea, because that means they can't fire back. So that's one of the enemy tanks knocked out, and we've still got to watch out for the other one moving across, and ambushes as well. So let's move our tanks now a bit further towards the south. And I think this area is clear. You just have to worry about the minefield. And of course, if you're plotting things on the map, then you'll have no idea where things are until you switch to the forward view. You can see warning, we're moving through there. So at any point you can grab the controller and change that to manual mode. We can blow up the mines in this game, and I think we've got plenty of ammunition to waste in order to do that. It is possible to clear away the minefield, and all I'm doing now is simply clearing away forward so that I can shoot the gun as soon as it appears on the horizon, and I can back off again. So hopefully the minefield area won't necessarily be something that the enemy is looking out for. And I know the German building, the bunker, is down here somewhere. I don't want to go into any of those craters in case I fall into them. So, well, I'm running backwards at the moment. It looks like I'm giving that one up as a bad job, or maybe I'm taking a different approach. So I've got 5 periscopes left, and I've got ammunition. You have to worry about ammunition, because if you don't get to the resupply point, obviously you're going to run out. So we're now well, look at that. We're now moving. One of our tanks is moving now into the minefield. It's a good job we took control of that, because the ignorant AI in this game will simply drive you straight through it if you're not careful. But if we use different tanks on the minefield, hopefully we can ration out our ammunition. Look at that, it's firing towards us straight away. Luckily we got it with the internal view without taking too much damage. And I think we did take damage, unfortunately. Is that knocked out? I think I saw it knocked out. It looks like it's in dark grey, so yes, we have knocked that out. Is there anything else in this area? Ah, that's the main bunker with a flag next to it. So let's try and get that. And that's that knocked out. So hopefully now we can check that out. That's the enemy bunker, all cleared up. There's no more minefield. Well, there's another bunker down there. So, well, that will probably be in range if we go and get to that area. So what I'm actually going to do is turn around and I'm going to reinforce our tanks, because we're down to a few of them now. We don't really want to waste any. And as soon as you switch control from one to the other, then you're at the mercy of the AI in this game. I've no idea where we're going at the moment. So let's just grab a hold of ourselves and maybe look at the map. So everybody's still there on the road, so hopefully we've got a compass bearing. We can go south now onto that road. There's still a tank lurking, unfortunately, on the road. We're going to have to knock that out, and as soon as it spots us we're going to be in danger. So let's return to the external view again And with the controls, you can press F3 to check out your damage at any point, F4 to look at the map, and if you're on external view, you can either press F5 to look forward, left and right with F6 and F7, back for F8, and you can even call up the radio as well with the F9 key, and pause with the F10. So there are quite some keys to press in the game, and warning minefield. I'm just looking out on the road, I'm just looking for that perimeter of the guy, and it looks like he's gone. It looks like he's trying to rescue that place where we've just destroyed it. So he's trying to resupply the area, so we can wait for him, or we can simply use our ammo and blow up some more of this minefield. Oh, here he comes. He won't attack us through the minefield, I don't think, but he's got a very long range gun. And did we get rid of him? No, he's still there. And if he has any hits on us whatsoever, I think maybe it's 3 hits to knock out our tank. And if we gain any more than that, then that means we'll have to repair ourselves. Is that now him out of the picture? I think so. I think we've got him. So there's nothing else attacking us, and I'm just trying to clear the road at the moment of mines in case I want to drive down that particular road and get everybody ammunition. So we are going down, but we've still got enough for the moment. This game came out in 1989, and just like Carrier Command and things like that, people really expanding the use of their Amiga by this point. And games like this, of course, it would run on a standard machine. If we collide with that flag, we'll now change it to an Allied flag, which is good. And do we risk taking out this bunker? It's facing the opposite way to us, which I'm not sure means we are invulnerable to that thing, but not quite sure. Let's just knock it out anyway. And the damage in this game is listed out in black and white, but it's also periscope damage as well. If we run out of periscopes by being shot, it means we can no longer see out of the inside of that tank. So you can see quite a few mines dotted around on the road, and the enemy, in this case, wasting no time trying to stop us. But we've now got that first checkpoint. So that's now ours. It appears with a red flag now, so that means we've now conquered this corner of the map. So there is another flag over there, but right now I'm looking at that church, and also I'm looking at that resupply point. And then we can get everybody in there and repair and rearm everybody. So I could run down the throat of that thing. These Shermans can travel up to 20 miles per hour on boggy ground, but on a road they can actually get up to 30 miles per hour. And in this game, if you use the remote movement like this, it will travel at half speed. And if you take control of the tank yourself, it will then move at full speed. So what I'm actually doing, it looks like I'm trying the off-road technique at the moment, and I'm sending that down to meet the other tanks. You really have to work as a team, and it's a great arcadey style tank team game. I'm looking for the church at the moment. It has to be on the horizon somewhere, and this is definitely a kind of a sneak 'em up game. So that looks like that's been blown up. That looks like it's been blown up. Looks like the road is clear. Aha! The church. The church. Well, it doesn't give us any coordinates or any degrees or anything on our binoculars. And we can even call in an airstrike as well if we really want to do that. Call in the artillery. And we can call in an airstrike on that particular region. And I don't think I managed to get that to work on this play, although I did manage to get that work on a previous play, and you literally hear the missiles coming down to blow something up. Maybe we're a bit too close to the target for that to happen, but the long and short of it is, I'm going to have to brave it, blow that thing up, and try to get that whenever it appears out of that church before we get blown up ourselves. I'm just debating whether to back myself up with a few more tanks, since we're all dotted around the area. And it's quite a big battlefield, and we're going to have to march through it strategically, checkpoint by checkpoint. And this is the first of 3 scenarios in the game. Of course, in Africa, which we will see a bit later on, it's all desert, so there's no trees to hide behind, but it's still a sneak 'em up. So are we ready now? Are we ready with everybody in position? The only thing we can do is drive around it and wait for whatever it is to appear. And it looks like we might have gotten away with it, so let's try to move everybody south and let's see if anybody appears out of that church. Definitely without the fog of war on, it makes this game a lot easier, because obviously we can see the enemy. If you turn the fog of war on, which is the default option, we're not going to be able to see the enemy, and they'll just fall over us and we'll just get blown up on them. But even in World War II, they definitely had aeroplanes flying around, so we could get some kind of reconnaissance even in World War II. We're facing another enemy at the moment, and if we're not careful, the enemy's going to run forwards and blow us up whilst we're on the wrong tank. And it looks like we've got it. And that was guarding something major camp there. So it looks like that's the resupply point that we're now closing in on. And we've just had one of our periscopes blow up. So that's a major catastrophe. We don't know who's destroying us or where that ammunition is coming from. But what I'm going to do is liberate the base by colliding with the flag. And if you're not careful, the enemy will blow up the resupply point. Ammunition periscopes 4, it will blow up that resupply point if you're not careful. So you're going to have to, as soon as you take it over, guard it like heck, because that's the first thing the enemy will try to blow up. And if they blow that up, then that's an easy way to basically destroy your tanks, because if you can't repair them and rearm them, then you're going to have a difficult time doing it. So I've no idea who was shooting towards us, but well, we can't get through it because of the trees. We've no idea who's doing it, but I can't see anybody, so I'm going to risk it. I think I'm going to nip in, refuel and repair. So hopefully any damage that we sustained so far will now get repaired. And I'm looking out for everybody, I'm looking out, and I still can't see anybody. So I think, I mean, there are ambushes in this game. You'll be lurking around somewhere and there's some ambushes. So look where the next resupply point is. It's on the opposite side of the road, a bit further down. And you can see 3 tanks are lurking down there. To kill us, we've managed to secure what we've got so far in this particular area. And there's another tank guarding a church in the south. So we're down to 3 tanks. It's easy to get blown up and destroyed in this game, and it's kind of an arcade game. I definitely wouldn't say that this was any kind of a simulator. So sometimes once you get all the tanks down to the base, other tanks will emerge. So let's just do that. And you have to be careful, because sometimes you're in range of the long guns as well. No idea why I'm heading towards the minefield, and it looks like, well, let's just do that the opposite way this time, and then we don't get blown up by mistake. You can see some score in the bottom corner as well. We have got some score in the game, and goal reached. Everything else doesn't really bear much significance at this point, and unless you take damage, there isn't much on the heads-up display we really need to worry about. So let's see, we've still got all 5 periscopes, there's no damage so far. Main coder of this game, Didier Arnaud, went on to Advanced Destroyer Simulator in 1991, and one of the other coders, Pascal Jarry, went on to 3D Moon Blaster, Moon Blaster, which is another 3D game, in 1990, and also Space Racer, he helped to code that in 1988. You can see I'm just debating whether to clear the entire beachhead and try to rescue the other one of those bases before we move south. It isn't really going to help us much because, well, it isn't, but if the enemy has a resupply base and touching that might give it a bit more morale, so if we knock that out it might even be possible. Well, is that the base? It looks like, well, as soon as we come under fire we'll definitely know that that's the base. So let's check ourselves out on the map, and it's pretty risky to do that at the moment, but let's just move closer, and we really should be backing each other up and moving forward as a force. But what I'm actually doing is a raiding party. I just want to get in there and blow it up. The Sherman M4 is a medium tank, hence the M, and 4 is the 4th development unit of the M, so it's the 4th medium tank. And we took a direct hit there. Definitely it's a good idea to, and another one, it's definitely a good idea to retreat if you have any direct hits. Victory for mission 1. This is only the beginning. So that was part of the mission objective, mission 1. Mission 2 now, get back the jeeps. Alright then, so we know where mission 2 is because it's down at the resupply point, and there we'll find 2 jeeps that we can use as a recon. And so that means we can use the jeeps and we can use the tanks as well. So I've no idea, but it says that we've completed the mission. So we probably didn't capture the flag, that's probably why the flag's still yellow, but obviously we did complete the mission. And scoping everything out, another bunker. So it's marching from bunker to bunker in this game, slowly sneaking forwards, trying to get someplace. You can see it's there, it looks like we knocked out another bunker. You can see a tank is now arriving towards us, so that can be good because it means we get to lure a tank out and blow it up early, but that can be bad because the tanks are now alerted to our presence, and that means that they can gang up on us, and so all we can do is get out the binoculars and anticipate the enemy. And look at that enemy appearing from the south as well. If we aren't careful, we're going to die. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to draw one of them back, and then I'm going to switch to the other one really quickly. And it looks like we've been blown up. There it is. Sometimes you can only get one shot off at a time. And now we're safe, hopefully. Yep, that's the enemy wiped off the map, but there's still one closing in behind us and 3 more are closing in. So that's another shot on target, and if I'm not careful I'm going to lose all my tanks here with all this stuff. So definitely run back to the repair centre as quickly as possible. We're now under heavy fire and we're now known to the enemy. It's pinpointed our location, and it's now zeroing in on our position using at least one tank who's moving along that road. What can we do? Well, we can hang around on that road for it, or we can leg it. And sometimes legging it is a good idea as long as you don't leg it back to the resupply point. Because rather than blowing you up, it will blow up that resupply point instead. That's another onslaught saved in this 3D real-time war game. Let's rush back, hopefully, to a resupply point. We have still got 3 tanks remaining. Phew, that's really hard work. So one of them is already meandering towards the road, trying to block off that tank. And we've still got quite a bit to go yet to get to the bottom of the level, which is the main objective. So you can see this is not a walk in a park. What can we do? Well, we're far north at the moment. I've no idea why I'm going far north. It looks like I'm retreating back to the original resupply point as a default. And of course, if you get your second resupply point blown up, you can always go back to the first one again, get refueled, and go back again. So it looks like we're on a 3-pointed star formation at the moment, trying to triangulate an area, a perimeter of security around the base. We're going to have to be on our toes now because that thing is attacking us. And sometimes if we keep on the move, sometimes it's a bit easier, but most of the time that thing will fire on target. It's also easy to panic in these kinds of situations, especially with various tanks homing in on us. And it looks like we've got another one blown up, unfortunately. So quickly, we're going to have to orientate ourselves in wherever we are. It's pretty difficult in external view because we could be going completely in the wrong direction. Looks like we're heading on completely onto the wrong road. So let's try to save our friend. Got it. We took a lot of internal damage, and we've also taken another hit from another tank. Destroyed. That means we're down to 2 now. That means we need to complete the rest of this mission with 2 tanks, which is very difficult, and I would say probably impossible unless you're really creeping in there. The enemy's now retreated back to our main objective. They're now crowding around the next restart point, the restock point, or whatever it is. So let's just repair everybody before we set off towards that objective. I think it's great to see the hands on the controller moving the sticks around as we are using the tank. And I think this game's got a great atmosphere, even though it's got no music in it whatsoever, and only the very basicest of sound effects. People on Lemon Amiga said that this was a very simple arcade game and didn't deserve to be any kind of simulator. One comment even said it was the Coke Zero of campaign games. Basically, it's a very cleaned up early version of campaign which doesn't treat itself too seriously. So anybody who's played campaign or any of those other War in the Pacific kind of games on the Amiga, there are tons of tank games to play, even Conqueror and things like that. But this one always seemed great to me because it's a real-time strategy game in 3D, and you can just bury yourself in the environment and you can sneak up on the enemy and knock them out one by one. And this is the longest ever play of this particular mission in this game. I've been trying to play it for a couple of years now, figuring out the controls, figuring out what I'm supposed to do. So this is my longest ever play that you can see at the moment, and that's why from now on I have no idea what I'm supposed to be doing. But what I want to do is to move south, hopefully, towards the objective. And hopefully, well, on the main road there's a tank waiting for us. It probably would be a good idea to drive down the main road and destroy that tank first of all, and then it can't sneak around the back of us. And you have to worry about that in this game. Tanks can simply appear from the rear and blow us up. So definitely protecting the flanks and the rear is paramount, and also checking out enemy buildings as well. You can see I'm creeping forward with the binoculars on at the moment. That is entirely possible in this game, and that's fantastic. Although if there's a tree in front of us, we won't necessarily be able to see it. So there's a bunker in front of us and a tank as well. That doesn't bode particularly well, and in the internal view it only gives us a limited distance. We can see the enemies as well. So that's me. I don't want to blow me up, and it looks like we're backing each other up at the moment. And if one fails, we can simply use the other one. And there is perhaps, well, the black dot is actually a civilian building. It's not a bunker, so hopefully we'll be alright. But sometimes it's good to get rid of that anyway, just to clear that off the map. So sneaking in, we can see hedgerows now, and tanks in hedgerows. That means it's even harder to blow them up, and it's fantastic that the periscope actually gives us some information about what we can see. And you can see I've completely abandoned one of my tanks, and I've clicked on the other one, perhaps by mistake. So I really shouldn't be leaving one tank out in the field while the other one is getting slaughtered, because guess what? It's just been blown up. So we've now got one tank left because of my ineptitude, and I'm not going to get through to the enemy base that way. So let's return back to the road, let's kill the tank on the road, and let's try to storm that bridge, because the enemy is only protecting that base from the north. If we can attack it from the south, that might mean we've got an easier chance of doing it. And you can see we've got massive mortar damage at the moment. It would be a good idea to get back to our repair point and fix that up. And definitely all kinds of things can break down on our tank, and so we have to maintain some kind of awareness of where you are. Look at that, even without the map we managed to find the restock point. At the moment it's littered with tank carcasses, which is what I like to see. That means we're back to top condition, and that doesn't really help us too much, but I'm going to use the road now. I'm going to thunder down the road, and I'm going to try to find, well, vehicles. Let's see, I'm going to try to find the enemy and blow it up, I think. And there's only civilian huts down here, so I'm thinking that it's going to be safe. Only one way to find out. Let's plot the route, and now let's head south, and let's keep an eye out for what it's doing. What I should really be doing is going to the external view and using the binoculars and simply driving down the road with the binoculars. And that means we get heads up on the enemy, hopefully before they've got heads up on us. But of course all the tanks in this game come with binoculars. As soon as the enemy sees us, then they'll start to give chase. It looks like we were lucky, it looks like we got it. And so that just leaves the one Jagdpanther guarding the bridge. And Jag, I think, just means king, so it means it's stronger than a normal panther. And I think a panther is a medium tank, so a Jagdpanther is actually a hard, heavily armoured, large tank. So you don't want to be messing around with Jagdpanthers, or Jagdtigers and whatever else. So we're now going to storm, hopefully, that bridge. I can't see anything at the moment, and you have to be constantly looking out for the enemy, which all adds to the Fantastic atmosphere. It looks like everything's safe. Destroyed Stug Mark III. There it is. So, come on, I'm going to have to brave it. I'm going to have to head down there. Did we hit it? Yep, it looks like we're safe. So that should mean we can sneak across this bridge. And that should hopefully mean now that we're to the south of our objective. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to sneak across the river, I think. And I'm going to, well, you can turn on and off deep water. But in this game, because I've turned it off, we can just go across the river anyway. So that's good. It means I can just simply cross over. And we've entered a village. You have to be careful entering villages because some of them are guarded. So it looks like this area is safe. It looks like we're probably going to have to get through to that bridge in the south, perhaps. I'm still thinking about going west at the moment. And going along the water that way. So the Sherman M4 had a 5-man crew. It had 2 drivers and 2... well, a main gunner and 2 guys in the turret as well. One of them's probably the crew leader, the commander, and the other one's probably the radio guy. And they relied heavily on the radio to figure out where the enemy was and to get messages about things and to get orders and things. And it was very, very noisy in there and very, very hot. And anecdotally, after the war, they became known as Tommy Cookers because... of course, they blew up very easily compared to the very heavily armoured German and even Russian tanks at the time. Obviously, T-34s were nothing compared to the can of sardines that was the Sherman M4. So, you can see we're now, unfortunately, we have to raid that base and it's being guarded. What a surprise. So we've got 1 tank left. Let's see if we can rush in. Hopefully rush in and raid that area. Sometimes you can simply wait for the enemy to reach us and get forwards and move into our firing line. But of course the enemy will be using its periscopes, so probably it has a better aim than we do at the moment. Let's liberate that base. And what does that unleash? Well, that unleashes these things over here. These are our vehicles. These are the jeeps that it told us about. And I think you have to press the 5 and the 6 key now to take control of them. Normandy mission 3, recovered the village now. HQ are waiting for you. So we've done the 2nd mission, we've now recovered the jeeps. So we're now on to the 3rd mission. And right about now I should be moving those jeeps away from this spot and heading south as quickly as possible. But I didn't know how to activate the jeeps with the 5 and the 6 key, or whatever it is at this point, so that means the enemy's going to come in and blow them up. But it's alright because they were just recon jeeps anyway. What I should have done, having taken over that base, is repaired and rearmed myself. And so now that base is under attack, it will now be captured again by the enemy. And that means that unfortunately we can't repair and rearm ourselves again. Luckily we don't have too much damage at this point. But the enemy are now being distracted by the jeeps, which are now ours. So whilst they're being distracted, there's time to go through those scores. Dato magazine gave this 50%, 5 out of 10. The current stingy Lemon Amiga score is only 67%. Amiga User International forked out 68%. Amiga Joker gave this 71. Amiga Action awarded this game 73. Power Play gave Sherman M4 75%. Amiga Format awarded it 77 and CU gave it 86. So that gives this an average score of around about 7 out of 10. I'm just debating whether to blow the enemy tanks up. All your Shermans have been destroyed. Sergeant Buck is not happy. That means, unfortunately, we lose the high score, we lose everything unless we complete the entire campaign. So we've got the Ardennes campaign, and that's pretty similar, only it's obviously in the Ardennes. So it's different kind of trees, regroup, and whatever that said. So you can see that now in a different forest, we've now got various tanks that we can use, but also the jeeps as well. And so our objective is to get somewhere in a jeep or a convoy. You can see we start in this particular one, and it looks like the resupply points are our objectives. So we've got a couple there to the south and maybe one to the north. So maybe the one to the north is the one that we need to go for. And just to finish going through this game, we'll check out this campaign very briefly. This is now El Alamein or whatever it is, and again we've got some trucks there that we can use, and also our 4 tanks as well. And so we're in the middle of the desert. All we have is a watering hole all the way up there. It's protected by bunkers, and we'll have to march from watering hole to watering hole that are all protected, and the enemy are hiding in the desert. So we can circumnavigate them by using the edges of the map, or perhaps going completely west from here. But if we travel along the main route, the main road, and we move as a convoy, unfortunately the enemy is going to spot us and ambush us on the way, and that means 3 or 4 enemy are going to drive directly into our path and try to blow us up. So in the desert campaign, it's definitely an ambush zone, and you can't really do much about that, but it's nice to see palm trees, and it's nice to see what passes for sand dunes and things in the desert. We can even set off everybody remotely from the map as well, so we don't have to send in just one guy. I've no idea where I am at the moment. Well, I'm supposed to be going north, I think. Tank 1, nothing. So hopefully we can use our pointer to move the entire convoy. Let's move them in a straight line towards the objective. Move Jeep 2, move Jeep 3, move Tank 1 and Tank 2. Move to here, and Tank 4, well, move to here, and Tank 3, what about here? So hopefully now the entire convoy is now moving along that road. We can now switch back to that convoy and watch the progress of our little troop, just like cannon fodder, moving into the action. Checking out the map, it's not long before the enemy appear, and so you'll have to take them on and guard. Look at that, another one. You have to take them on and guard the entire unit, and that's pretty difficult when you've got quite a number of enemies attacking you all at once. Quite a challenging game, even though this is quite an arcadey game. And you can see it's already mayhem. Everybody's broken up. There's a Sherman running away there, and you can see the enemy closing in. That's another Sherman running away. So maybe I should be following their advice and running away, to be honest, because if you can lure the enemy back to your base, or at least a starting point, and that could mean that you can line up on a front and take them out. Look at that, everybody's stretched out all over the place. So that's that campaign, and definitely this is an absorbing game, and even though it's a very fast acting 3D landscape, especially with the authority that I'm using at the moment, maybe if you're using a different CPU it will be a lot slower. But I've got respect for this game, not many people have played it, and as an arcade shoot 'em up, real-time 3D etc, I think this is great. So thank you very much, and I'll see you in the Playguide sometime soon. Thank you.